The views on a Breath of Fresh Air podcast reflects the parties involved, and we encourage you all to use it as a conversational tool that will lead to personal studies of your own.
Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
Welcome to a Breath of Fresh Air podcast. Here with your hosts, Earl Roberts and Nakhaz Gay. As a young person, Christianity can be so foggy, like smoke in the mirrors and so unclear. But we're here to bring you a breath of fresh air.
To everything, there is a season. A time for every purpose under heaven. A time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to pluck what is planted. A time to kill and a time to heal. A time to break down and a time to build up. A time to weep and a time to laugh. A time to mourn and a time to dance. A time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones. A time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to gain and a time to lose. A time to keep and a time to throw away. A time to tear and a time to sow. A time to keep silent and a time to speak. A time to love and a time to hate. A time of war and a time of peace.
Time. It's something we can't control, yet it happens every moment of our lives. In Ecclesiastes 3, we explore the profound truth that there is a season for everything under the sun. From joy to sorrow, planting to harvest, this chapter reminds us of God's perfect timing in all things. Join us as we uncover the beauty, purpose, and eternal significance hidden in life's ever-changing seasons. As always, be blessed and enjoy. All right, welcome back to a Breath of Fresh Air podcast. Here with your hosts,
Nakhaz Gate.
and Earl Roberts. How you doing, man? It's actually been a while in real time since we've recorded. Like last episode, we talked about it's crazy. Last episode was like 2 weeks ago now. Since then, we already had an election. My boy has traveled around the world.
Around the world is crazy, bro. Around the world is crazy. I traveled around the Atlantic at best.
I mean, did you not leave the country?
I did.
Okay,
I
then
barely
you traveled-
did. But see, that's the
you
thing,
traveled
bro.
around the world.
I barely left the country, though. That's the funny thing, bro. It's so debatable. It's so debatable if I left the country or not.
I mean, did you need your passport to enter your port of entry?
I did.
All
I
right,
did.
then you left the country.
Yep. I did. I'll give you that.
If a driver's license can't take you there, you left the country, my friend.
We can. That's a nuanced conversation, but I'll give it to you, bro. I'll give it to you.
What are you doing, man?
Doing good, bro. Doing good. Like Earl mentioned, I was on a cruise. I went to a cruise to the beautiful Bahama Island of Bimini. And so it's funny because it's like on one hand, I was on vacation, but I was actually going home. Right? On the other hand, you catch what I say? So like I was at home. It's like I was visiting home for vacation, but this was a part of the Bahamas that I had never been, didn't know much about. You see what I'm saying? It seemed like everybody know about Bimini, including my coworkers, more than me. You see what I'm saying? like everybody telling me, oh yeah, you can do this, you can do that. It's a ferry that goes sort of out of Fort Lauderdale. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. But beautiful island, bro. Beautiful and small island. I ain't gonna lie. And it was a fun experience because it's like everything was closed, bro. Everything was closed. Like we ride golf carts. Like I didn't see many cars. You feel me? Like granted, I was around a lot of tourists and stuff like that, but golf carts, you could tour the whole island couple minutes, bro. One east to west. You know what I mean? couple of minutes, but a beautiful island. I'd definitely recommend going there. You just want to get away, you know what I mean? But like I said, I was on a cruise, and so most of the time we spent on the water. On the way back to Florida was they was speeding a little bit. They was speeding a little bit, man. I was thinking, oh, Jesus could have sleep so calm on that boat, bro. I had my Dramamine, you know what I mean? I had my motion sickness patch.
Mercy.
And I was no good, bro. Like it wasn't, I don't know, bro. Like I had a headache because we was out in the sun all day.
Mm.
And then at the same time, just laying down and just felt left and right. Like it just so much motion sickness, bro. And first time on a cruise, not the first time on a boat, not the first time on a boat traveling somewhere either. But that was probably like the most motion sickness I had. You know what I mean? But yeah, man. But how you been? How you been since we last spoke?
Oh, it's been pretty good. Been pretty good. You know, just planning and work busy. I have not left the country. But all in all, it's been good, man. It's been good. I got to do some continuing education for my engineering license. So been doing a lot of lectures and courses and mini tests to prove that I could get the certificates to all submit to the Florida Board of Professional Engineers. It's fun.
Okay.
I got 4 more lectures left, so we'll see.
Yeah.
But I'll probably knock them all out on Sunday. But yeah, man, it's been good. It's been good. I mean, in real time too, like what? We already had whole election again. That's wild.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We're like, in our country, things change depending on the party in place. But it don't be drastic swings. I don't feel like, I'm just speaking for me. You know what I mean? But this election, it did feel like either side just felt like they just felt very far, like different from each other. You know what I mean? Like culturally, they just felt like it's almost like we was like 2 different countries talking about things, you know? And so, but impromptu little tangent.
Oh, let's go for it.
I've been seeing a lot of discussions about the way people react to the results of the election. You know, you and I, we can't vote in this country. We don't delve into these type of things. We nonpartisan. But there were people who defaulted to saying, despite the fact that their candidate did not win, they resolved to saying God is in control, right? Christians are saying that, right? And there are other Christians on either side, on that same side that are saying that they don't like saying God is in control because it minimizes the autonomy or the free will that we had in determining this outcome. You see what I'm saying? So some people look at it like, you know, some people were resolved to say, hey, everything that happens is for a reason, right? I don't like to lay on that foundation because that kind of absolves free will. Everything doesn't happen for a reason. You didn't have to cut me off in traffic type of situation. Like the reason being is because you were an impatient person. You know what I mean? Like everything, I don't think everything happens for a reason. That's my personal philosophy, right? But some people were saying that, hey, there were times like they went on deep dives in the Bible saying that there were times when the Israelites they misused their blessings and they ended up in captivity. God was still in control, but it was still bad for the Israelites. You see what I'm saying? They still did not enjoy what they were going through. You know what I mean? And so I just found that to be a very interesting dilemma because on one hand, when is it ever a bad thing to say that God is in control? I do not disagree. God is in control, right? But then on the other hand, that was kind of like insulting to people because they just felt like, you know, it minimizes the part that people could have played but chose not to play in the outcome. So how do you feel about that?
I agree on both sides, right? Because I'm gonna use on the side that God is in control. I'll use the story of Joseph, right? Joseph brothers decided to sell him into slavery. Joseph went to Egypt, still did what is right, rose up in prominence from slavery, rose up in the Potiphar's house. Joseph chose not to sleep with Potiphar's wife.
Mm-hmm.
Joseph then gets thrown in jail. Joseph interprets the butler's dream. Butler forgets about Joseph.
Mm-hmm.
Joseph then rises. Then eventually the butler remembers, tells Pharaoh. Joseph interprets Pharaoh's dream. But Joseph went through all of this, right? Did nothing wrong, but all these bad stuff still happened.
Mm-hmm.
But could we still not say God was still in control?
Yes.
But then you have someone like Saul, who's God is in control, but Saul still made choices that led to his downfall. Same with Solomon, same with David. But ultimately, God is still in control. So now for me, I know I just used three different examples, right? But for me, it's how you look at it and how you use it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because to your point, God is always in control. That's an absolute fact.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, it doesn't truly minimizes our choices. I was telling someone this week, right? Because I turned down a new job offer this week, right? And I was telling someone, I was like, God's still in control, but God still gives us the option to exercise our free will.
Right.
Now, because they was asking me if I think I was making the right choice, yada, 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 right?
Mm-hmm.
And I say, you know what? Truly, I feel like I am making the right choice because, long story short, the offer was great, but I didn't have any signs from God that I should take it.
Mm-hmm.
Which is like direct opposite, like 2 years ago when I switched from my former job, 2.5 years ago, when I switched from my former job when all the signs was there. Like when I say I had literally none of the signs, it was crazy, but I wanted it.
Mm-hmm.
Bro, I was wrestling for like a week and a half, bro. Like, come on, God, give me something.
Give me something.
And that was one of the times where God was like, bro, I already told you what the dance is.
Mm-hmm.
This ain't gonna be no Gideon scenario, bro.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a story. That's a different tangent, right? But I was telling my friend, I was like, yo, at the end of the day, in time, we'll tell if I made the right decision. But no matter what, I know God is in control. But if I made the wrong decision or if I left that company and they went under, bro, I would have to live with that decision.
Yeah.
I trust God to bring me through it. But God would still be like, bro, you have to deal with this probably unemployment for a while or whatever, because this is the choice you made when I told you not to.
Yeah, I didn't tell you to do that. As a matter of
Exactly.
fact, I told you not to do that.
I told you not to do that.
Right.
And you went ahead and still followed your own will and not trusted me to see you through this storm.
Mm-hmm.
And so now, again, the point there. So that's kind of how I feel.
Yeah, no, I get that. And so here's the thing. God is in control, meaning that, God permits, God can rescue you, God can keep you despite. I agree with that, right? God has the ability to control everything. I agree with that. But do I believe God is controlling every big decision that happens? I do not believe that. I believe God gave us free will. So it's a possibility that it was God's will for this to go this way, right? That's a possibility. But I don't resolve to that. I resolve to thinking that this came about as a result of many people making the decision with their own free will for this to happen. You see what I'm saying? And so that was one thing. Another thing that I saw that I want to get your opinion on.
Yeah, hold on. Even before you say that, right? Because even to back up the same point you just say, bro, God gave Adam and Eve free will to eat from the tree of knowledge and good and evil.
Mm-hmm.
He did not want them to eat from the tree of knowledge and good and evil, but he did not prevent them from eating of the tree of knowledge and good and evil. So again, the power of life and death was Adam's and Eve's to decide. And they made a decision. And God was like, okay, you guys made a decision. I have to enact consequences for your decision, but I'm not going to leave you or forsake you, but you have to suffer certain consequences of your own personal decision. Right. So that's kind of the next example of that whole, God allows things to happen. He doesn't prevent them from happening, even though he can still be in control of the entire situation, but things still have to run their course. But so you could go to your second point.
No, but imagine after Adam ate, right? Eve turned into Adam saying, don't worry, bro, God's still in control. He'll be like, bro, hold on. But we did that. You know what I mean? Like, I
Exactly.
get it. God is still going to keep us. And if that's the point you're making, 100%, I like it. Some people might not like it. It is what it is. You see what I'm saying? I'm sorry for if you're listening and you just vehemently disagree with where I was off, but that's my thought process on it. Another point I saw, and it was almost a good point.
I say
And
almost.
it was almost a good point, bro. It was almost a good point to express some of the disappointment that Christians on the other party that lost feels. I saw someone on Facebook said, and they told Pilate, we want Barabbas, right? And so I'm like, this is almost a good point because we have a situation where somebody, based on the person who made this point, because I'm not trying to project any of my feelings on it, because at the end of the day, I don't have a say in any of these decisions, right? But on one part, the people that lost are saying, hey, we have this clear representation of someone who was, quote unquote, a criminal that had, their downfalls. You know what I'm saying? And that's who the people overwhelmingly chose, right? But on the other hand, if we keep the Barabbas scenario, that would imply that the person that lost was Jesus. You see what I'm saying? And so that's why I'm like, it's almost a good point, but there's one technicality where it's like, that person wasn't Jesus. And you can't put no candidate. You see they saying it's gonna
everybody coming with their baggage. It's just about which baggage you want to let in your house, right?
Yeah,
And,
exactly.
and what make this election so interesting, bro? You ask people on the left, right? The person who win ain't from God. You ask people on the right, that person who win is delivered and sanctified and sent from God to deliver us from evil. And I'm like, bro, this country is such in a weird place, bro.
Yeah, bro.
It's such in a weird place. And it's like, you can't, to me, you know me, like, shoot, we lived together for like 5 years. Like, for me, I always like try to see like both sides and try to see every angle, right? And like, but like, it was so weird, like this election, you couldn't point out the good on the left without someone telling you all the bad. You couldn't point out the good on the right without someone telling you all the bad. And I'm like, guys, like, can't even have a conversation about it because, bro, everyone just was so amped up. It was like everyone was amped up even more on this election. I feel like even more than 2020. And I was like, bro, we was in COVID then. I thought things could be in ways then.
Yeah, it's polarized, and I've been noticing for the last few years a lot of topics, and it don't have to be politics, but it polarizes people. And I don't know if social media or just the fact that we consume so many opinions have a part to play on that, bro. But everything is polarizing, bro. Like, no lie, you could say I like LeBron, that must mean you hate Kobe, you hate Jordan. You say the same type situation. You could say you like Drake, that must mean you hate Kendrick Lamar. Like, everything, bro, outside of politics, like, there's no nuance, bro. People are not critically thinking, or they're not even keeping it specific to what you're saying. You can say I like pancakes, that means you hate waffles. I didn't say I hate waffles, bro. I did not say I hate waffles. You know what I mean? I just said I like pancakes, bro.
You're right, bro. It's like the extrapolation of an inference in things that are said now that it's like taken to the nth degree. Because I'm like, you like to your point, you say one thing, and people like starts inferring other things. Like, hold on, no, and then people start injecting things in what you say. I'm like, no, that ain't there. Like, you can't just magically infer that because the two things are not true, and then certain times two things are true. It's interesting, but yeah, man, I don't know. It's the world itself is a very interesting place. I know we talked about this in a I guess Bahamas chat, right? But it's like, man, just like outside of America, like the way the world itself turned and everyone becoming more like isolationist, everyone trying to like their country first. And in some instances, I get it. I get it, but it's like, man, this is another tangent, right? But I was listening to another like podcast this week. I'm just talking about like, the whole concept of nations is just interesting. And I was listening to someone talk about like, who actually invented democracy? Who invented this thing, democracy? And someone saying from the Bible, like, Jesus set up a kingdom. Like, God set up a kingdom. He wanted to be the king of his people. It was never really a and that's an interesting conversation now for a different day, right? But it's like, we got so empowered, especially like especially from Europe and stuff, like from like, everyone needs to have their voice heard. Everyone's voice does matter. Like the whole nation alliance, like I love my country, I am very this and that and the third. And it's like, why were these concepts so empowering now? Like you have people who love America more than God. You have people who love
For
their
sure.
country more than God. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, when did this become a thing? When nation became your God?
Hmm. Yeah, that's a deep one, bro. That's a very deep one. And so one more point.
Go for it.
Um, so it's like when it's like Samuel
Hmm.
when Samuel had to grapple with the realization that his heirs, his children, were unfit to lead. You see what
But
I'm
they
saying?
named Phineas and Hophni.
Yeah.
I try to remember. I was getting them confused.
Yeah. And so I just get them confused with Nadab and Abihu too. Yeah.
They up on the bike. I couldn't remember them two just now for nothing. Keep going.
Yeah. I just get them confused. But yeah, so similar situation. You have a leader, a Levite leader whose offspring were were ungodly, bro. They just made a mockery of the things of God. And so the Israelites, they turned around and they tell Samuel, hey, but don't even worry about which son. This is me paraphrasing, but don't even worry about which who's gonna succeed for you as the Saul. Samuel was the what the thing called, what they used to call a judge. He was a judge.
Hmm.
You see what I'm saying? So that was almost like it was like a makeshift king, but it wasn't. It was just a leader type situation. It wasn't a monarch. It wasn't like a royal. It wasn't a bloodline either because all type of different judges succeeded each other. You know what I mean? And no connection like to the family. But they was like, bro, don't even worry about who the next judge could be. We want a king. We evolved from this judge thing. And Samuel was there trying to talk to God, and he was saying, yo, God, they abandoned me. They they departed from me. And God said, no, it ain't you. They
It's
depart
me.
from me.
Hmm.
You see what I'm saying? Like they departed from me. I was their king. You see what I'm saying? And they
Hmm.
asking for a king. You know what I mean? And so to the point where it's like when your country become more of an idol than God, bro. Like that's the situation right there, bro. You see what I'm saying? Like you can watch videos of people they get hard on, hey, I don't want this law to be passed. This is against God, right? You could ask them, hey, so what about this? Right? They ain't into that. They ain't hearing that. You see what I'm saying? Like, bro, like no lie. If I was to say, hey, everybody who like in front of these like abortion clinics, because you're also adamant against that, let's go through all the commandments. You see what I'm saying? Let's go through all the commandments, bro. Because I feel like I ain't gonna tell you how to feel about this one issue, but I telling you, you need to have zeal for other things in the Bible as well, bro. Like I see
Hmm.
some people to turn around and say, hey, y'all shouldn't worry about that. Whatever your convictions is on that, you should just abandon that because you don't keep everything. I don't tell you that. I say no. In the same way you keep this one thing, keep all of them, bro. It's a text in the New Testament say you guilty of breaking one commandment, you guilty of breaking them on, bro, breaking them all. Our situation as Christians, we should want to be more as much like God as possible. You see what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Keeping his moral laws, keeping his laws of morality. But there are certain things um in Christian nations that rank higher than others, bro. And we young adults, bro, I just want to have a real conversation for a second, bro. Homosexuality is high on the list, bro, for people who are serious Christians. High on the list, bro. We don't wanna justify that in our laws and stuff like that, right? But at the same time, but if we talk about promiscuity, the
Hmm.
zeal is not there for promiscuity. The zeal is not there for adultery, bro. Adultery is actually a commandment. You see what I'm
Yep.
saying? Like, so you have to go through Levitical laws and you have to go through just one-liners that talk about homosexuality, right? But adultery, bro, we have situations where people who's getting stoned, like we have tangible evidence that this is not right. We have evidence where God is saying, remember Hosea and Gomer? He was like, bro, I want you to marry a prostitute to feel what it's like for someone to continue to commit adultery. That's how I feel with Israel, bro. When y'all
Hmm.
always sinning, that's how that feel to me. You see what I'm saying? But it's like, so we seeing how serious God take that. You know what I mean? But at the same time, laws put in place for that. You know what I mean? It's not the same zeal, And I just feel like we need to be forthcoming with ourselves, bro, and understand that there are more than righteous indignation that drives some of these things. You see what I'm saying? And at the same, like I feel like we should approach like think about how detestable pedophilia is, bro. People like nobody condoning that. No one even wouldn't even miss and condone that,
Absolutely.
right? But ban false witness, bro. Worshiping idols. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Murdering.
I agree. Like, so why you think, like, and that's in the conversation I have, right? Like, so why you think certain sins are given less weight socially than others? Like, do you
I
think the
think
church has a part to play in that? Do you think just everyday life has a part to play in that?
I think people I'm speaking for myself. I care more about stuff that I I am uncomfortable with. So someone worshiping an idol, that might not bother me that much, bro. You see what I'm saying? And because it don't, it's like this. Every, every there's wars happening all around the world all the
Mm-hmm.
time.
Yep.
Nobody bats an eye, bro. It's people starving all around the world. Nobody bats an eye. It happened in your community. Now you locked in. You the biggest activist XYZ. It's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times things are relative to what you around. You see what I'm saying? So you more likely to be around someone that is a homosexual than you are to be around someone that is committing a murder. Committing a murder, depending on where you are. You see what
Yeah,
I'm saying?
depending on where you are.
Depending on where you are. We live in a world where you turn on the TV, you bombarded with murders far more than you bombarded with homosexuality. You bombarded with lying and sex and stuff like that, far more than anything else I'd say in the commandments. So we desensitized to it. You see what I'm saying? We desensitized and we okay. So now you insert this new thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now we see homosexuality on the TV and we say, oh no, oh, like as Christians, we like, oh no, they trying to poison us, this and that. Bro, we've been poisoned, bro. We are poisoned. We listen to rap, we listen to music about double murders, triple murders, all type of crazy stuff we listen to. Bro, if you listen to rap, on average, you listening to someone talking about killing or selling drugs to somebody, bro. But that's entertainment. You see what I'm saying? We so desensitized, bro. Certain things that we just ain't keen to. And because we not keen to it, hey, you shouldn't be doing that. You shouldn't be doing that. But we don't never take a step back and think about God. We don't think about God's righteousness, how it affects God. It's more so how it affects me. You see what I'm saying? I am uncomfortable with this thing, so I am vocal about this. No, you shouldn't. It shouldn't be what you're comfortable with or uncomfortable with. It's sins that we are comfortable with that we will never speak out on. But God is far more uncomfortable with that than you are with this one thing that you don't like. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I think everybody have a sin that they actually enjoy doing. Some of us is multiple sins.
Mm-hmm.
But if we think about it from God's perspective, from his heart, we realize these things hurt him. You see what I'm saying? It's almost like you realizing your child is a murderer type situation. Like, but it's hurt me to know that you're doing these things, but I raise you better than that. You should know better than that. I think that's how God look at us. When we bear false witness, when we put other gods before him type situation, like when we covet, bro, like things that we don't put the emphasis on, but God make it and he wrote it with his hand in stone type situation. You know what I mean? And so, and I just want to say this one time, like just to summarize, I am not saying that we should stop feeling indignant about the things of God. But what I'm saying is we should be indignant for more things than some of the high points that we focus on. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So,
My
yeah.
theory is like people are more comfortable with sins they commit and less comfortable with sins they don't commit, and that's why the ones they don't commit is hurt them more. And I'm saying, like, if someone lie, you're like, okay, because everyone's like, oh, I lied before. Okay, they ain't that big of a deal. And it's like, bro, that's like literally a Ten Commandment. You see people breaking this out, but you're like, I've done it before, even though, bro, that's literally a Ten Commandment. You see people putting other things before God, but then it's like, oh, you see someone worshiping a statue of Vishnu, you get a little uncomfortable here, like, bro, what we doing? Because hey, that's something I don't do. You see someone being a homosexual or that type of stuff, you're like, bro, like that's not rubbing people the wrong way. But then when you won't be doing fornication, you're like, oh well, yeah, everyone does it.
Yeah, everyone's doing that. That's a
You know what
normal
I'm saying?
flex.
And I think that's the part where the devil has desensitized sins so much. And then what he did is he made some so polarizing that you're comfortable committing these ones, and then you start driving a rift with the people who are doing these other ones.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very like the devil's so cunning, bro.
Yeah, bro.
It's a very
Crafty.
interesting way, and how, I like how we do it. Because even, I mean, like homosexuality is a big issue in the church right now, and it's interesting, right? Because like at a church, what do you stand for? Where do you be accepting? Where do you draw the line about being accepting but not keeping God's word? It's a big topic. It's a big
Mhm.
topic, and we've like talked about it like casually, like off pod, right? But like that's an issue where the devil himself is like winning us now. He dividing the church on polar opposite sides, and it's like, man,
Yeah, bro.
it's very intriguing.
Let me tell you one thing. Okay, so to that point, that's why it's like you can't lean onto your own understandings. You see what I'm saying? Because you could put more weight on certain things based on your opinion. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. We just reading in Proverbs, bro. Like certain abominations, feet that run to commit violence, or like
Hmm.
hands that shed innocent blood. Like these abominable to God. You see what I'm saying? But I'll tell you, bro, growing up, I know people, bro, that have killed. You see what I'm saying? Growing up, bro. And you just like, you little scared of them, but you more so respect them. You see what I'm saying? Oh, but this place a real gangster type
Yeah,
situation. You
he's a
know what I
real
mean?
killer. He do this for real.
This is an abomination to God. You know what I mean? Like this is a walking abomination on the side of me. You know what I mean? And so like, that's why it's funny, bro. Like, but that
Oh my.
but we can't decide good and evil, bro. We have to leave it to
No,
God. You see what I'm saying? We have to leave it
no.
to God. We can't decide how we combat these things. You see what I'm saying? People that have so much more grace for whoremongers or men who have sweetheart and thing, with all the grace in the world for them. You see what I say? Like all the grace in the world for them. But it can be sometimes when the person who they cheating with get more flack than you, who actually in covenant married and thing that, you know what I mean? Like for real, bro. Like it's crazy, dog. It's crazy. But at the end of the day, yeah, bro, lean not unto your own understandings. In all our ways, acknowledge
Oh,
God.
shame.
You see what I'm saying? And He will direct our path. You know.
Yeah, man. Oh, and also one correction of what I said earlier. Hophni and Phinehas was Eli's sons,
Mm.
and Samuel's sons was Joel and Abijah. Just a mini retcon.
Samuel,
Yeah.
Joel, and Abijah.
Mm-hmm.
That must be a different name they use, bro. Hophni and Phinehas. Uh,
It was Eli's sons.
was Eli's son.
Yeah.
Oh, Samuel's son. Why?
Yeah.
Why say Samuel's sons, bro?
Wait,
That's
but I
crazy.
know what you meant.
I
I
don't
know
know
what you
his
meant.
sons. Hold on, bro. I'm glad you corrected. I don't know his sons. I don't know these people. I know Aaron's sons and I know
Yeah.
Eli's sons. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. So like
Bro,
when you say Samuel, I instantly thought Eli, and I was like, hold on. I was like, Samuel's sons was not these two.
but every time, but no lie, I just merged them two together, bro. Everybody who have sons who ain't making sense, I just merged, but I forget Samuel's, I forget then, it's almost like I forget their names, bro. When I say Samuel's sons, I was thinking Eli, but I was meaning Samuel. You see what I saying? Like, it's crazy, bro. I glad you correct that. Because I was like, hold on, wait. Samuel's sons. That's funny, bro. That's a good correction, bro. Because I want people listening to us like, oh, these people you know what they talk about, bro.
Yeah. I was like, boy. Because we was in the meet, because I look it up and make conversation. I was like, oh boy. I was like, boy, yeah, say, I gotta, at the end, I gotta come back and correct it. But being too like interjecty to come back and do it then.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. All right. You still want to do
Cool.
Proverbs or you just want to get into Ecclesiastes?
Yeah, let's just get into Ecclesiastes.
Like Proverbs 8 been waiting for a while now,
Real
but
talk, bro. You making them wait again, bro. That's crazy.
Proverbs 8 been waiting for a while. Okay, so you want to give the people a rundown on how where we're at in Ecclesiastes and like what led up to this point so far, even though we like only on chapter 3, but
Yeah, so we know Ecclesiastes. It was written by Solomon, the wisest man ever. God bless him with otherworldly wisdom. And throughout his life, we see situations where he did not use this wisdom. You see what I'm saying? Like
Mhm.
the fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. We see things that was not, you see things in his life that were not orchestrated by the fear of God, i.e., women. And so the Bible says in the book of I think it's First Kings, they was talking about all of the women that he married. He married hundreds of women, and not all of them were Jews. A lot of them were from other nations, and every woman had their own idol set up. You see what I'm saying? And he would worship with his spouses, and they turn his heart away from God. And so, you end off, you end up when you finish reading in Chronicles and Kings about Solomon, you don't really understand where we landed with him. You see what I'm saying? Because we see how he just departed from all of that wisdom that he had. Mm-hmm. And now we get to the Ecclesiastes, and this, just reading the book, you hear that he had lived a lot of life at the time he wrote this. So, it's very easy to assume this was at the end of his life. And so the first chapter, he was just talking about, the vanity of life. You see what I'm saying? Like, just like the way the world orchestrates. Like, I noticed this about the world, that about the world, but it was all vanity. And then we still in chapter 1, he did a study on wisdom. Let me do a case study to see what's the percentage of people that have wisdom, who has wisdom, and how does it benefit them. And then he resolved to saying that too was vanity. Mm-hmm. Last chapter, we spoke about his extracurricular activities, how every bit of pleasure he pursued, every version of pleasure. I was into everything, basically.
My boy did it all, buddy.
I do it all, bro. I into whatever. You see what I'm saying? And he said he did not withhold any pleasure from himself. But that was also vanity. You see what I'm saying? And so the way he resolved this text, and this is a consistent theme in the book. He's, after saying all of the wait, hold on. There's one other point that I wanted to say.
Go for it.
He was talking about how he'd build the vineyards. He said he built the houses. He do all these things. That was vanity. Then he checked up and realized, bro, I built all this, but I can't take it with me.
No.
And I end up leaving this to someone, and who knows if this person could be a fool or not. You see what I'm saying? And that made him upset. It made him upset to know that I could only enjoy this as long as I'm alive. And then someone who ain't earned this is going to get to enjoy this, which is also vanity. And so he resolved by saying that nothing is better for a man than he should eat and drink, and that his soul should enjoy good in his labor. This also I saw was from the hand of God. And this is a consistent refrain that Solomon continues to resolve to after telling us about all of this vain stuff in the world. So that's Ecclesiastes 1 and 2.
All right. So now in chapter 3. To everything there is a season, a time for every purpose under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck what was planted, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to gain and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to sow, a time to keep silent and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace.
I appreciate the synopsis that the author is giving us, but I would love for him to expound on some of these things. Let me know the time to kill. Expound a little bit for me the circumstances to which you determining when to kill. You see what I'm saying?
I think it's the same time when you go to war.
That's fair. That's fair. You know what I mean? Like, it's certain things what he's saying, a time for war and a time for peace. No. This was the one. A time to love and a time to hate. But y'all might think I'm being facetious. Solomon, please tell me when it's appropriate to hate. Because I just want to hate on a lot of things, and I just feel convicted in my soul, like, I shouldn't be hating right now. You know what I mean? But let me know if I justify it in saying, I can't play ball like that, man. Like, just being a hater sometimes. Now, I'm joking, of course, but yeah, a time to love and a time to hate. You can hate sin, right? Or is that a cop-out? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I get what you're saying.
Yeah, based on the word, there's a time to hate, a time to kill. You know what I mean? A time to war, these things. Well, in New Testament Christianity, this might be a hard sell. What do you mean it's a time to kill? Outside of war, that's the only justification, and that's a social thing, in my opinion, where we just like, yeah, no, man, he mean war, man. You know what I mean? Like,
And so this could sound like I'm trying to be a technical person, right? But is there a time to kill the same as there's a time to murder? Because I think they might be two separate things.
yes. Okay, so watch this, right?
Go for it.
Okay, murder, no. I can't justify murder because the Bible. See, but this is the thing, though, bro. You're right, and we don't have the Hebrew right now, and I don't think it's worth going into that for the sake of time.
But I think there's a different word for murder and a different word for like what's being used here in kill. Because I think the one in the Ten Commandment word is like the word for kill in the Ten Commandment is different than the word that Solomon is using here.
That would make sense because the command definitely says, "Thou shalt not." Kill, right? But this then, but you know what? Levitical law, bro. People used to get killed within the commandments all the time. So if you say it's a time to kill, it's very likely that even if he ain't talking about murder or war, when you purge the evil from among you, someone who has committed,
some people will die.
Yeah, you commit a certain sin, you will get killed. You will get stoned. The whole assembly will participate in your death and your killing. You see what I'm saying? That definitely is a time to kill as supported by the Bible. You see what I'm saying? Witchcraft, these type of things that you was caught doing that, you getting killed. That's a fact, and that's by God's law, you getting killed. You know what I mean? That's definitely a time to kill. And so if we use the Ten Commandments as the margin, right? And we know you can't kill, but we know exceptions. I'm using kill in the broad way that we use in the English language. Not it is. The Ten Commandments is excluding murder and vengeance and stuff like that, right? But it's certain things by the, I don't know, based on the Torah, where killing was the punishment for crimes, basically. That's probably what he's talking about. Or war, or a combination of both, Because to that point, it's like, a lot of Christians, some Christians, they don't support war, period, right? But, some people who understand for like homeland security purpose, right? You have to protect your land type of situation, right? But what if you don't support the reason why we warring, like, at all? Like, what if our country in the wrong, you say they saying, and we go on the war? Like, does that still change? Or do we say, hey, because it's war, we can do it? Because in the Bible times, they was fighting on behalf of God most of the time. You say they saying on behalf of preserving, worshiping God, or, God's law or whatever, you know what I mean? And, yeah, I know it gets interesting, but, regardless of where you land on that, he does go on to say it is a time to war. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I mean, the whole issue of war is just an interesting conversation in itself. I mean, because a lot of people feel conflicted about that, right? Like, when is it justified? I mean, we have stories of Desmond Doss who wanted to go fight, but he never wanted to, partake in the killing aspect of it. And the guy saved many lives, being a conscientious observer. Personally, I probably was taking my gun into war, but your boy never even wanted to touch the gun. So again, it's like
respect.
It's like a conviction thing, right? I mean, it was definitely a conviction thing. So, man, that's a conviction right there. But again, you could do good stuff. And even looking at some of these, right? And it's so true, right? Because there's a time when you gain, there's a time when you lose. And a lot of people don't like that aspect of life, right? A lot of people just want the gaining aspect, but the time to lose, no one likes that because it just sounds so negative, right?
Yeah, and it don't feel good. You know what I mean? Like losing money, losing friendship, like certain things you lose it don't feel good,
Yeah, buddy. And then it's a time to keep and time to throw away. Gotta know when to let things go.
Yeah, that's respect.
Gotta
You
know when to
tell
let
me
things go.
moderation. You can't be a hoarder. You know what I
Like,
mean?
oh, I could fix that.
Yeah, yeah.
I can reuse the parts out of this. And
One of
don't
these,
worry, you
you
can
never
see
know. You never know what you could use this for.
10
That's what
years
I
later.
said. That's what I tell myself. You never know. You never know this random thing. You know. But it was also interesting. It's a time to dance. Take
Yeah,
that.
that wouldn't get me right because it was contrast with the time to mourn.
That's cool because you remember the text where it said you turn my mornings into dancing.
Mm,
Like I think dancing is like the benchmark for having a lot of happiness or a lot of
joy.
joy and fun. You see what I'm saying? Like if we could think of one act that like universally, if they doing this, more than likely they having fun.
They're having a good time. It's
Yeah, they having a
dancing.
good
You're right.
time. It's dancing. You know what I mean? And so on the other hand, when you're mourning, that's a very sad time. You see what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So yeah, time to dance, bro. Time to
A lot of
dance.
people got to realize too, it's a time to keep silent. It's funny. I just like the order of which some of these come because it ain't always positive and negative. Sometimes you have the positive and then negative. Sometimes you have the negative and positive. And to me, it's like where the emphasis is being placed. Where you say, "Bro, it's a time to keep silent." It's almost. I almost feel like it's more important. I don't know. Could be taken the wrong way, but I just feel like it's because usually people say it's time to speak and it's time to be quiet. You say, no, 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 no. It's a time to be silent, buddy. You got to keep that in mind. It's a time you got to be quiet.
I heard a poet say, "Don't speak unless you can improve the silence, bro." And I just like, bro, that's I like that
Mm,
one. You see what I say? I like that
mm.
one. You know.
Like you start telling people that.
Yeah, bro, and that's just wisdom 101. That's just wisdom 101, bro. Like I think Proverbs talks about that all the time, bro. Like you wouldn't know a fool if they quiet, if they
If
silent.
they never speak,
If they don't talk, you wouldn't know. You would not know, bro. I mean, you can
man.
do that everyday actions, but in a nutshell, you ain't gonna know, bro.
And that's the thing too, man. Like just in a general principle, right? Once you start talking, you really start revealing your hand, bro. You
Mm-hmm.
could walk into a meeting and really not know nothing. No one know that you know. But
Mm-hmm.
as soon as you start talking, acting like you know, everyone can quickly figure out, oh, this guy just full of it. He don't know nothing.
Yeah.
He
And
don't know
the
nothing.
sad thing about it is often the person who is doing all that talking don't realize that everyone is onto them. You see what I'm saying? Like everyone could see through the
The
facade. Like
facade.
a lot of times people think they actually tricking people, you know? But it's like a lot of times people like, bro, I could tell you don't really know what you talking, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Like, but I don't
Man,
stop people from talking, bro. I ain't gonna lie.
no,
I ain't gonna lie.
no. And then on the flip side too, if you actually know what you're talking about, people actually could see it and they respect it. Like I had a call with one of my clients about 2 weeks ago, right? And it was something random, right? But they were just asking about like floodplain protection. And like I just was answering like all their questions, right? Because like my senior project manager, he ain't from Florida per se. Like he did all his practice up in Philadelphia and Pittsburgh and Doylestown area, right? So he came down here like 2 years ago. But local Florida laws, I pretty much got them down because that's where my whole career has been. So I
Mhm.
was just like riddling off like all the answers and all the questions, right? And they was like kind of impressed, and they laugh. They say, "Oh, Andrew, we know what Earl's super good at." And I was like, I don't know if I should be offended or flattered.
Yeah.
But it was just like, oh yeah, like no, you really know this topic because you answer all our questions in an intelligible manner, and you actually can relate the code and everything to us. Like we actually understand this, right?
Mhm.
But it just shows like once you start speaking, you could be quickly revealed. Because no, I just imagine I go around there, I really know what I talk about. And it's funny because even my project manager this time, he was silent. He was like, yeah, guys,
Mhm.
like honestly, I don't know
I
nothing about
got
this.
that.
So
Yeah.
Earl is your guy right now.
Yeah, dog.
But okay, Ecclesiastes 3, verse 9. What profit has the worker from that in which he labors? I have seen the God-given task with which the sons of man are to be occupied. He has made everything beautiful in its time. Also, he has put eternity in their hearts, except that no one can find out the work that God does from the beginning to the end. I know that nothing is better for them than to rejoice and to do good in their lives. and also that every man should eat and drink and enjoy the good of all his labor. It is a gift from God. I know that whatever God does, it shall be forever. Nothing can be added to it and nothing can be taken away from it. God does it that man should fear before him. That which has already been and what is to be has already been. And God requires an amount of what is past.
So you see again, he giving us, he keep talking about the work. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like in life, work. You're gonna work. You know what I mean? That's like gonna make up most of your time. They're gonna take up most of your life. You see what I'm saying? Like just trying to provide for the next day or for your children, X, Y, Z. You know what I'm saying? And he was saying, bro, ain't nothing better than to rejoice and do good in your lives. You see what I'm saying? And to eat and to drink and enjoy all of his labor. It is the gift of God, you know? And that's actually, just really, really thinking about it, bro. Like the way he ranks situations, like in this text, he ain't really telling us what is vanity. He telling you how to be wise. You see what I'm saying? Or he basically telling you, helping you to understand the moderation. Like you might be the person who feel like it's never a time to mourn or it's always a time to dance. But that ain't what life, that ain't really how life is, bro. It's a time for either of those things. You see what I'm saying? It's a time to mourn, it's a time to dance, it's a time to keep silent. You see what I'm saying? It's a time to speak. But now, when it comes to your labor, like what profit has the worker from that in which he labors, right? He asking that. You know what I mean? What is their profit? But we already understand where he going with this. Where he going with this? Their profit is to enjoy their labor. You see what I'm saying? Like, bro, a lot of time in our life, in our generation, I don't know if the generation before us they said it, but it's a lot of emphasis on enjoying what you do. You go to college and they're like, bro, pick a major you actually like doing. It's a phrase that say, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. You see what they saying type situation. And it's people who you hear their success stories, bro. They love what they do. I'm a this, I'm a that. And I just love it, bro. And they just in all their glory. And Solomon basically trying to say, like, for the sake of your well-being, this is important, bro. To enjoy life, bro, and your work should be a part of that enjoyment. That's number one. Number two, but eating and drinking, having a good time. And this almost like a commercial break in the Bible, because the Bible they don't put a lot of emphasis on having a good time. You see what I'm saying? Like there's more serious salvific matters at hand in the Bible that we go over. But this wise man is basically saying, bro, like this is one of the most important things in life, bro. To have a good time, bro, to enjoy life, bro.
Yeah, one thing that I find interesting is verse 11. The latter part of verse 11 actually. Also, he has put eternity in their hearts, except that no one can find out the work that God does from beginning to end. And the reason why is like, as human beings, we know we have a longing for eternity. Like we is interesting, right? Just think about how much people are so fascinated about like what happens after death. Do we live on? I mean, we as Christians have this hope, in the coming of the Lord that we alive, we'll go on to live again with him, right? Other religions have their own afterlife beliefs. But why do you think that is? You know what I'm saying? Like in our hearts, we have a longing for eternity. And that's interesting, right? Because think about like no matter where you go in the world, no matter which faith belief you practice, there's some belief in the eternity. And that means that's like almost that's innate to us human beings, which is fascinating. But it's like we don't know what's gonna happen next. Definitively, you know what I'm saying? Like we just know, bro, we gonna go to sleep. Next thing we know, hopefully we wake up. It's the first time. It's the first time it happening.
Real dog.
Because we wake up and we realize, buddy, oh, the thing's a little different here. See a kingdom coming down. You're like, oh man.
That's something, boy.
Oh man.
Yeah,
But
bro.
I just find that fascinating. Like, and like it just never dawned on me, like, yo, no, like that's why all across the world there's different desires to know what happens next. It's different like beliefs. So, the Hindus believe, oh yeah, no, you might come back like a
Reincarnate.
bumblebee if you
If you're
if you don't live
serious.
right.
Yeah.
And I just want to ask them, so how's like how the bumblebee has come back into a human? Like what the bumblebee got to do to live a good life?
Yeah, and it's just funny because you can't quantify these things. You see what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Like you can't quantify it. And that's the Solomon's point. Like God has hid these things from us. Like you ever notice how like we could look at like people could tell you what happened in different galaxies and they could tell you what happened when you split an atom and like these just super micro things, bro. Like we
Mm-hmm.
could dig deep into, but we can't tap into the afterlife. You said what happens afterlife. And then even if we could, guess what happens? You go to sleep, bro. Like you sleeping, bro. Like you see, they say like we do have the literature to tell us that what is happening. You know what I mean? But people, they that ain't enough for them
Not enough.
too. That ain't enough for them too. You see what I saying?
That is not enough. All right, verse
Oh, one more
16.
thing too.
Go
One more
for it.
thing
Yeah,
too.
go for
I
it. Go
think
for it.
Solomon is mentioning that because as a man of wisdom, he realized there was a glass ceiling to
Mm-hmm.
how much he could learn. You see what I'm saying? Like, so he probably wanted to know what's going on X, Y, Z. You know what I mean? But
Mm-hmm.
he can't know that. And no matter how hard he study or how hard he try, he can't. I just have to go out. I just have to take your word for it. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah. Every boy was like, alas, there's one piece of knowledge that escapes me.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way I can find out about this is I will never be able to write about it.
Yeah, I'll never be able to write about it. And then guess what? Even the fools get end up where I end up too, because it ain't my wisdom with helping me to get to this point of death. You see what I said? You know? So yeah, that's crazy.
All right. So now in verse 16, moreover, I saw under the sun, in the place of judgment, wickedness was there. And in the place of righteousness, iniquity was there. I said in my heart, God shall judge the righteous and the wicked, for there is a time for every purpose and for every work. Woo. What do you think about that?
Right? That's one thing that's for sure. Judgment. You see what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? And so let's the way I read this chapter, I think that he thinking like from like a deep spiritual level. That's where his frame of thought is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like this wasn't like observation. I mean, it was observation to some degree, but he was thinking like spiritually, bro, like, he started off saying, hey, yeah, do this, do that, or whatever. The whole, your whole totality in life, just make sure you enjoy, right? But guess what, bro? Even while you working and things like that, it's certain parts of this wisdom stuff you just can't get to. You can't
Mm-hmm.
get to know what God happen after life and things like that. But God has hid that from us, right? But you know what? One thing is for sure, what we could see and what we do know is that He's gonna judge the righteous and the unrighteous. How you know He's gonna judge us, bro? If you just saying you can't, we don't know what gonna happen after life. You don't know what that afterlife could be like. You see what I'm saying? But you understand the process of it. You see what I'm saying? You understand how we can get our reward in heaven or whatever we don't get. You know what I mean? You know for sure if you are a human being, one thing you can't escape is judgment. And because of that, everything we do is has a reward or a consequence to it. You see what I'm saying? Everything we do has an outcome, And that's words to live by because it ain't gonna be like you being right just to avoid judgment. You see what I'm saying? And judgment in itself ain't a bad thing, but it's just a reflection of how you live. You see what I'm saying?
No, I agree, and I think it's two things. Like, because verse 16 and verse 17, to your point, talking about different things, right? Like in verse 16 to me is like he looked around on Earth in his experiments and realized that, bro, life ain't fair.
Mm-hmm.
Is what they're saying to me. Like life ain't fair, bro. Like where there should be judgment, where there should be law and order and fairness, he finding like iniquity here is like pretty much
Wickedness. Yeah.
being unfair. Like, bro, y'all supposed to be the ones who y'all supposed to be the nice judge, bro. Y'all supposed to be the ones who care for these people, maintaining law and order, but y'all corrupt. Y'all corrupt. So now how could y'all corrupt people be the imparters of justice? That can't work. And think about today's day, bro. We could take our country, we could take the country we live in. The political system, the justice system, all messed up.
Yeah,
Like, what is fairness?
Yeah, it's like a lack of a moral compass.
And like something you said early in the pod, right? But it's like, when man leans onto their own understanding, which no matter which the country's laws are, it's man's understanding of what justice and good should be. Once you do that, you already built on an imperfect system.
Yeah.
And then you have imperfect people who are interpreting laws that was written hundreds of years ago and trying to create new laws today. What y'all think? The system ain't set up for justice, even though it's to give the illusion of fairness, it's to give the illusion of justice. But we know it's a corrupt system.
Yeah, because it's like, bro, I remember in high school, we have these track meets that happen in the Bahamas, track and field big in the Caribbean. The private school is of them, the government school is of them, then we have like an open, everyone qualified. I remember one year I went to the private school and the public school one. At the private school one is this guy, clearly a cop, bro. This boy had to be like 23, and all of us like 16, 17, thing like that. Clearly an adult, bro. The boy dressed up in all gang paraphernalia. He just, from head to toe, dressed up like a gangster. He's like a gang banger, bro. You see what I'm saying? And that's at the private school one. I watch him, bro, and it was clear as day he was trying to bait gangbangers to mess with him so he could arrest them, right? And in my mind, I'm like, bro, why are you trying to antagonize someone? You see what I'm saying? Like, to me, it was like, bro, I was sitting there like, bro, you okay doing this to people? Like, you okay walking around being braggadocious, like trying to incite violence? You see what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, your job really just is to arrest people, bro. Your job ain't to stop violence or these things from happening type situation. You're just trying to bait people. Now, I went to the public school one. You ain't wear that gang paraphernalia at the public school one, bro. Because that's very dangerous, bro. You see what I'm saying? Like, you could miss it. Like, don't go your way type situation. You know what I mean? And, bro, it's so much times, like, you would see, like even back home, like, the way my friends that are in law enforcement, the way they talk about firearms, right? And even like when they off the clock, if someone mess with them or if they have to protect their family or whatever, the way they describe that, I just be thinking, if a civilian talk this exact way, you know what I mean? Like the very act, if two of us do identical things, you can do it, I cannot do it. And I will go to jail. You will not do it. Now, you could argue, because I have the authority to do it. On what, bro? Like, this is civil authority, but in principle, we doing the same thing. You know what I mean? So a lot of times, bro, it don't be a matter of the law for real, bro. You see what I'm saying? It's be a matter of power, And do you have the power to do this? No. So, okay, you can't do this. And because I have the power to do this, I will break the law or I will bend the rules to my advantage type situation. Like, people don't really care. Like, a lot of times people don't care about justice or keeping the law. You see what I'm saying? A lot of times they just care for their own selfish situations. And I feel like a lot of us human beings fall victim to that. You know what I mean? Like, we bend the law when it's convenient or sometimes when we can get away with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Agreed. It's not verse 18. I said in my heart, concerning the condition of the sons of man, God tests them, that they may see that they themselves are like animals. For what happens to the sons of man also happens to animals. One thing befalls them as one dies, so dies the other. Surely they all have one breath. Man has no advantage over animals, for all is vanity. All go to one place. All are from the dust, and all return to dust. Who knows the spirit of the sons of man, which goes upwards, the spirit of the animal, which goes down to the earth? So I perceive that nothing is better than that a man should rejoice in his own works, for that is his heritage. But who can bring him to see what will happen after him?
All right, so this is an interesting text right here because sometimes, not a lot, very few times, but it does happen. Like people, the conversation of the afterlife, right? Some people use this text to say that the spirit of man goes upward and the spirit of animals goes down. You see what I'm saying? Meaning that our spirits are in heaven type of situation. There's a text in Ecclesiastes that says the dead know not anything. Adventists love that text because one text like that supports what we believe is the biblical state of the dead, that the dead know not anything, and it, I believe that, and if the dead were in heaven, why is Jesus returning? You see what I'm saying? Like, why does the dead in Christ rise first? Like, what's the need of that if they're already in heaven? You know what I mean? And so this text, it's a little interesting because what is it saying? It said, "Who knows the spirit of the sons of men, which goes upward, and the spirit of the animal, which goes down to the earth?" Right? The text is clearly saying one go up, one going down. But if you read it in context, right, it literally starts off by saying that we just like the animal, right? And we all going to the same place. But then this text, it kind of contradicts it. But let's look at it again. I said in my heart concerning the condition of the sons of men, God tests them that they may see that they themselves are like animals. So direct comparison, men and animals, right? But what happens to the son of man also happens to animals, right? We on the same page still. One thing befalls them, as one dies, so dies the other. So we both die. This same comparison, right? Surely they all have one breath. Man has no advantage over animals, for all is vanity, right? This is the same thing. We level still. All go to one place. Level. You see what I'm saying? All go to one place. All from the dust and all return to the dust, right? So everything level until we get in. It says, "Who knows the spirit of the sons of men, which goes upward, and the spirit of the animal, which goes down to the earth?" And so now we see a disconnect. They say one go up, one go down, right? But I believe that this is a misinterpretation or mistranslation of the text. If you read the NASB version, it says, "Who knows that the spirit of the sons of man ascends upward and the spirit of animals ascends downward?" If you read the New Living Translation, it says, "Who can prove that human spirit goes upward and that the animal goes downward?" The KJV said, "Who knoweth the spirit of man that goeth upward and the spirit of the beast that goeth downward to the earth?" But one thing that's consistent in the KJV and the New King James Version is a question. It's saying, "Who knows that the spirit goes up and the other one goes down?" Who knows that is the question that they're asking. You see what I'm saying? But when you read it just in context, without understanding that nuance that the other translations capture, it may seem like it is saying, it may seem that it's affirming that one goes up and one goes down. But no, it's a rhetorical question. He's saying, hey, we all the same. We all the same, like we go to the same place. And it's saying, like, who could tell me otherwise? Who could tell me that one go up and one go down? And the question is rhetorical because no one can tell you that, because I just made a point like 3-4 verses in a row saying that we all end up in the same place and we are all the same. You understand what I'm saying? And so, just a little interesting tidbit. And that, like, texts like these, and this might not be the best example, but texts like these is when I understand that it's a lot of nuance in translation of the Bible, even within English translations. The King James Version for a long time has been like the gold standard, because a lot of times, like other translations, they might omit texts that have that talk about like Jesus' divinity and stuff like that, and so you don't want to play around with that. But there are texts in the King James Version that, when you look at the Hebrew and you look at how the King James is wording it, these things can have different like nuance just based on the syntax of how it was translated and stuff like that. But yeah, overall, the general theme is, he's driving home the point that, hey, but we just like animals at the end of the day, but we can die, but we can earn back the dust at the end of the day,
Yeah, and like to your point, like when you start reading it, when you read it in context, it's that's the point he was trying to make, right? Because my boy is saying It's better that we just rejoice in our works, because what for who can bring him to see what will happen after him? And he just said nothing's gonna happen. Bro, we do all of this in life, but we die just like animals.
Yep.
We go back to the dirt just like animals. Our life, in a weird way, he is saying our life is not more precious than that of animals, because we all suffer the same fate. The death is like the big equalizer, because we all die. Even just like the animals, we all die and we all return to this dirt. Which is wild.
Yeah.
Which is wild.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. But but one thing this man driving home, bro. But it's only but one it's only but one mission. And you know, we can get to the conclusion of the matter. That's the conclusion, just like a book, right? But it's like the chorus. You know what I mean? Like you could have a song, there's a main objective of the song, but there's something, just a refrain, there's something that continues to come up. And that is that he perceived that nothing is better than, you know, to just rejoice in your works. But that is his heritage. You see what I'm saying? For who can bring him to see what will happen after him, bro? Like, that's crazy, bro. Like, this, I don't know. I don't think I realized that this text didn't really talk about what was vanity or not. You see what I'm saying? Like, and it ain't important to talk about what is vanity, because
when you talk about, for all is still vanity.
yeah, it is, because it is vanity at the end of the day, because when you die, that's the end. You see what I'm saying? All this for nothing, like, and you don't even get to reflect on that, you know? And so, like, while you in life, it's good to enjoy, because you ain't gonna have a time, like, after life, just reflect, maybe in heaven type situation. You know what I mean? You got to do this now. You got to enjoy this now. You can't wait till the end, bro, because the end is death. You see what I'm saying? And when you think about it, bro, like, it's disrespectful to compare humans to animals. Whenever we do it, most of the time we do it. If someone say, "But you could die like an animal," that's distasteful.
Yeah, you die without dignity.
Yeah, it's according to context. Because they say you healthy as a horse and things like that. You know what I mean? Like you like strong as an ox, and you know what I mean? Like you can make these comparisons, but
9 times out of 10, to your point, it's not a good thing.
Yeah, so you make it. If someone say, "Bro, all us get dead like animals," but everybody you just tell me, "But we get dead, bro." You know what I mean? Don't tell me I could die like an animal, bro. That make me feel, I don't know. That make me feel unhuman, bro. Like, you know, and that's the point. And so the man of wisdom is saying, bro, like when it comes to death, at the end of the day, that's just how it is, bro. That's how it is. Like all your honor gone, bro. You see what I'm saying? Like you just another thing. You just a lifeless thing at the end. You know what I mean? And I can tell you one thing: nobody knows what happens after that. You know, he emphasized it multiple times. You know, and so because we don't know it, because this is not privy to us, right? And what is privy to us is our everyday life. It is important to spend it doing things, working toward things that you love and that you enjoy. He perceives, the man of wisdom perceives that nothing is better than that, than to enjoy your own works. In today's lesson, Solomon taught that for everything there is a season, a time for everything under the sun. He then reflects on the God-given tasks bestowed upon men and the importance of enjoying what you do. Finally, he focuses on the fate of man and animals, specifically that we all go to one place, the dust. Join us next week as we unravel Ecclesiastes chapter 4 on the next episode of A Breath of Fresh Air. Tonight's episode included voice acting by your host, Nakhaz. Remember to go ahead and research on your own in order to get a more firm understanding of tonight's episode. And if you enjoyed it, make sure to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. You can follow us on social media at A Breath of Fresh Air Pod on Instagram and BOFAPOD on Twitter. Thanks everyone, and we'll see you next week.